I'm still completely numb writing this, but I need to get it out somewhere before I lose my mind. Laura and I have been together for 7 years, married for 4. We don't have kids yet, just our house in the suburbs and our golden retriever, Buster. Up until a few months ago, I would have told you our marriage was rock solid. Laura was always a heavy communicator. If she was running 5 minutes late from her shift at the clinic, I'd get a text. If she changed her lunch plans, she'd call. She wasn't the type to just disappear. It wasn't in her DNA. Or so I thought. Everything shattered this past Tuesday. Laura called me around 4 p.m. saying she was heading out for drinks with the girls from work to celebrate a co-worker's promotion. I told her to have fun and that I'd leave dinner in the fridge. 11 p.m. rolled around, which was late for a casual weeknight hangout, so I shot her a text asking if she needed a ride. No reply. I called her 10 minutes later. It went straight to voicemail. By Wednesday morning, the text was still unread, and her phone was still dead. That's when the absolute panic set in. I called her closest work friend, Sarah. Sarah sounded confused and told me she hadn't seen Laura since their shift ended the day before, and that there was no co-worker promotion party. My stomach completely dropped. I called her mom, her sister, everyone. Nobody had heard from her. I drove to the local police station out of my mind with worry. The officer was sympathetic but told me that since she was an adult and there was no evidence of foul play, they couldn't do much yet, though they filed a missing persons report. But here is the dark truth I haven't admitted to anyone yet. I didn't just sit around crying. For the past 2 months, Laura had been changing. She became incredibly distant, started guarding her phone like it held state secrets, and suddenly had a massive influx of late nights at the office. Call it intuition, call it a husband's gut instinct, but my soul was screaming that something was deeply wrong. A week before she vanished, I couldn't take the agonizing doubt anymore. I hired a private investigator. From Wednesday to Friday, it was 3 days of pure, unadulterated hell. I didn't sleep a single wink. I couldn't eat. I paced the floor with Buster, imagining the absolute worst. I pictured her car flipped in a ditch, or Laura trapped somewhere, or dead. I was a completely broken man. Then, on Friday evening around 6 p.m., the front door clicked open. I bolted up. Laura walked into the foyer. She looked a bit exhausted, sure, but she was completely casual, holding a fresh iced coffee in her hand like she had just gone out for a morning stroll. The sheer relief and rage exploded out of me all at once. I was crying, shouting, shaking. Where the hell have you been? I thought you were dead. The police are looking for you. Why was your phone off? Laura didn't look guilty. She didn't look relieved to see me. She just looked incredibly annoyed. She rolled her eyes, let out a heavy sigh, and said the exact words that will be burned into my brain until the day I die. I'm exhausted. I've had a stressful week, and I don't owe you any explanation. Just drop it. In that exact microsecond, something flipped inside me. Every ounce of panic, worry, and love I had felt for this woman over the last 7 years turned to absolute ice. The frantic husband died, and a stranger took over my body. I looked at her, completely expressionless, and calmly said, "You're right. You don't." I walked over to the kitchen counter, picked up a thick, heavy manila envelope that the PI had delivered to me just 4 hours prior, and slid it across the table. It made a sharp smack against the wood. "What's this?" she asked, her voice still laced with attitude. "Open it," I replied. Inside were full, finalized divorce papers. Right beneath them was a 15-page detailed investigator's report, complete with timestamps. And right under that were high-definition, glossy photos of Laura at a secluded cabin 2 hours out of town. In the photos, she was laughing, drinking wine, and passionately kissing my former college roommate and best man from our wedding, Dave. The immediate shift in the room was dizzying. Laura's arrogant, dismissive face completely drained of color until she was ghostly white. Her fingers began to tremble, and she dropped her car keys on the floor. The "I don't owe you anything" attitude vanished in a heartbeat. She instantly started hyperventilating, her eyes welling with tears as she looked from the photos to me. "OP, please. It's not what it looks like. Let me explain, please," she started begging, dropping to her knees. I didn't say a single word. I grabbed my pre-packed duffel bag, walked right past her sobbing on the kitchen floor, and closed the front door behind me. I'm staying at a hotel down the street. My phone is currently blowing up with texts from her and her family. I'll keep you guys updated. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for the overwhelming support on my last post. I'm reading through the comments, and honestly, seeing so many of you validate what I did is the only thing keeping me grounded right now. I'm currently typing this from a local Marriott. After I walked out of the house on Friday night, leaving Laura sobbing on the kitchen floor, I drove straight here, checked in, and threw my phone onto the bed. I couldn't handle the noise. For the first hour, I just watched the screen light up in the dark over and over again. It was a relentless barrage. By Saturday morning, I had 47 missed calls from Laura, 12 from her mother, and text walls so long they looked like full-length novels. Watching the progression of Lara's texts was like watching someone frantically trying to put out a house fire with a water pistol. Her story changed by the hour. Phase 1 was pure defense. At around 8 p.m., she texted, "OP, please come back. It's not what it looks like. Dave and I were just talking. I've been feeling so overwhelmed lately, and I just needed space." Nothing happened, I swear. She actually expected me to believe they rented a romantic, secluded cabin just to have a deep philosophical chat. By midnight, Phase 2 kicked in, and the gaslighting began. Suddenly, it was Dave's fault, and somehow, my fault too. "Dave forced himself into my life because he saw how lonely I've been," she wrote. "You've been working so hard, and you're never present. You ignored me for months. It's your fault too. You drove me to this." I nearly laughed out loud at the sheer audacity. The PI report literally showed her initiating the cabin booking weeks in advance. By 3 a.m., the anger disappeared, replaced by Phase 3, absolute desperation. "Please don't do this to us. I love you so much. It was a massive mistake. I wasn't in my right mind. I think I was having a manic episode. Please don't throw away our future. I'll do anything." Then came the flying monkeys. Around noon on Saturday, I unmuted my phone to call my brother, and Lara's mom managed to ring through. I answered, and she was instantly hysterical, crying so hard she could barely breathe. "Opie, please, you have to talk to her," she sobbed. "Yes, she made a horrible mistake, I know. But marriage is about forgiveness and working through the hard times. You can't just throw 7 years away over a lapse in judgment." I felt completely cold. I told her, "Marcia, before you lecture me on marriage, ask your daughter to show you the 15 pages of high-res photos I left on the counter. Ask her why she was in a hot tub with my best man while I was calling hospitals thinking she was dead." I didn't wait for an answer. I hung up and blocked her number. The betrayal from Dave hits just as hard, if not harder, in a completely different way. Dave and I lived together for 3 years in college. We shared a crappy apartment, lived on ramen, and built our careers together. He stood right next to me as my best man at my wedding. Exactly a year ago, when Dave fell on hard times and was facing eviction, I secretly loaned him $3,000 to pay his rent and cover his groceries. He never paid me back, and I never brought it up because I thought, that's what brothers do. On Saturday afternoon, I sent Dave a single text. It was a high-resolution photo the PI took of him and Laura passionately kissing on the deck of the cabin by the hot tub. Underneath it, I wrote, "The house is going up for sale. Don't ever look at me again." Dave's response, absolute cowardice. He didn't try to explain. He didn't offer a pathetic apology. He instantly blocked my number and vanished from all my social media. I found out later through mutual friends that Dave is a serial leech who has done this before to other guys. I was just blind enough to trust him. First thing Monday morning, I met with my lawyer. I live in a jurisdiction where assets are strictly divided, but clear boundaries and evidence matter heavily to judges during mediation. My lawyer practically drooled over the PI report. Having ironclad proof of a pre-planned, 3-day disappearance while hiding behind a co-worker party, lie cuts through any claims she could make about wanting to reconcile or needing spousal support. Following my lawyer's strict advice, I immediately began securing my finances. I went to the bank and halved our joint accounts. I took exactly 50% down to the penny. No more, no less. Because my lawyer said it makes me look perfectly reasonable and fair to a judge. I also completely removed my name from our shared credit cards, so she couldn't go on a spite-spending spree. On Tuesday afternoon, knowing Laura would be trapped at her clinic shift, I went back to the house to pack up the rest of my clothes. Walking into that empty house felt surreal. But I wasn't there just for clothes. I grabbed Buster, his food, his favorite toy, and loaded him into my car. He's my dog, and there was no way I was leaving him there. Before I locked up, I left a sticky note on the kitchen island that simply read, All future communication goes through my lawyer. I thought I had bought myself some peace, but yesterday, Laura ambushed me. I was walking out to my car in my office parking lot after work when she stepped out from behind an SUV. I barely recognized her. She looked like a total ghost. She hadn't slept. Her hair was a matted bird's nest, and her mascara was smeared all down her face. She cornered me against my driver's side door, crying hysterically, trying to grab my hands. I stepped back, keeping my distance. She started spewing a completely new version of the story. "Opie, listen to me. Dave manipulated me," she screamed, hyperventilating. "He gaslit me into thinking you didn't love me anymore. He dragged me out to that cabin. I felt trapped. I was scared. We didn't even sleep in the same bed. I swear to you, nothing physical happened after the first day." She was lying straight to my face, completely ignoring the fact that I had photos proving otherwise. I looked at her, completely detached from the woman I used to love. The sheer desperation in her eyes didn't move me at all. I unlocked my car, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "3 days ago, you didn't owe me an explanation. Keep that same energy." I got in, started the engine, and pulled out of the space. As I drove away, I looked in my rearview mirror and saw her drop to her knees in the middle of the asphalt, screaming my name and sobbing. My lawyer says the paperwork is moving fast. I'll let you guys know when it's finally over. Final update. It's been 6 months since I drove away from Laura screaming in my office parking lot. I'm writing this from the couch of my new place with Buster asleep at my feet, and I'm happy to finally say, it's over. The divorce is officially finalized. To everyone asking about the legal battle, there barely was one. The sheer weight of the evidence I had, the 15-page PI report, the timeline of her lies, the glossy photos, was simply too much for her lawyer to fight. On top of that, Laura was absolutely terrified of a public court mess. She works at a high-end clinic, and her professional reputation means everything to her. The last thing she wanted was her colleagues finding out she faked a disappearance and sent her frantic husband to the police just so she could sleep with his best friend. To keep things quiet and out of open court, she agreed to a mediation settlement that heavily favored me. As part of the agreement, our house was sold. Walking through those empty rooms for the last time felt strange, but I wasn't sad. I took my share of the equity and bought a smaller, much nicer townhouse closer to the city center. It's a clean slate, with no ghosts of my past marriage lingering in the hallways. As for Laura and Dave, well, it turns out their grand romance didn't survive the sunlight. It's easy to play star-crossed lovers when you're sneaking around in the dark, but once the secrecy was gone and the real-world consequences hit, the fantasy shattered. Dave dumped her within a month. He's a leech, and he wanted the thrill of a secret affair, not the exhausting drama of a messy divorcee with no money. Things got even worse for her socially. My friends made absolutely sure that her entire friend group found out the real truth, complete with the PI photos and the timeline of my panic. They were disgusted. The same girls she claimed she was getting drinks with the night she disappeared completely ostracized her. With no husband, no house, no lover, and no friends, Laura had to move back into her childhood bedroom at her parents' house. About a month ago, I received a long, highly formal email from her. There was no more screaming, no more blame shifting, and no more desperate begging. It was just a sad, pathetic realization of what she had done. In the email, she finally admitted that her infamous, "I don't owe you an explanation" comment was the stupidest thing she had ever said in her life. She confessed it was born out of a massive ego trip. She honestly thought I was too weak, too blindly in love, and too dependent on her to ever actually leave. She thought she could treat me like garbage and I would just swallow my pride to keep the peace. I didn't reply to the email. I just deleted it. Looking back, I've had a lot of time to reflect on that Friday night, and I've realized something crazy. Her arrogance was actually a gift. If she had come home from that cabin crying, acting remorseful, and begging for forgiveness on day one, I might have been weak enough to try and fix it. I might have dragged us into couples counseling and wasted another 5 years of my life constantly checking her phone, wondering if she was lying to me. But she didn't. She walked in with a cold, cruel arrogance, and that cruelty made leaving incredibly easy. It killed my love for her in a single second. As for my current situation, I'm doing really great. I'm in weekly therapy to untangle the betrayal. I've been hitting the gym consistently, and I'm slowly getting my spark back. Buster absolutely loves the new townhouse, and we go to a dog park just 2 blocks away every morning. I want to leave this post with a final piece of advice for anyone on this subreddit going through something similar. To anyone reading this who thinks their gut is lying to them, it isn't. Get the evidence, stay calm, and when they show you who they are, believe them the first time. Thanks for all the support.